A large crowd of cameramen frantically captures photographs as Jinwoo steps forward, dressed in a sharp suit with a flower in his hand. Ever since the Jeju Island raid concluded, it has remained the sole topic of conversation across the nation. Screens are flooded with comments discussing Jinwoo's remarkable feat in clearing Jeju Island. During the raid, the public witnessed Jinwoo in action for the first time since his ascent to S rank, marking his official debut on Jeju's battlefield. Observers speculate whether he should be classified as a national-level hunter, though opinions remain divided. Some hail his prowess, while others question the extent of his strength and wonder how he became so powerful. With the entire country deeply invested in the raid's outcome, discussions about Jinwoo dominate public discourse. Though his actions receive widespread praise, he is not without criticism. Many argue that the loss of lives could have been reduced had he joined the raid earlier. While countless voices express unwavering support for him, few attempt to counter the criticisms leveled against him. Jinwoo solemnly places the flower at Byung-gu's memorial, acknowledging the grim reality that casualties were unavoidable. His gaze lingers on the memorial, where mourners shed quiet tears. After a brief moment of reflection, he turns away and departs. As he passes Yunho, he leans in and whispers that he once firmly believed no single hero could end a war alone, yet recent events have begun to challenge that notion. He urges Jinwoo to stand tall, assuring him that he was the one who finally put an end to this tragedy. Overcome with emotion, Yunho thanks him, his voice trembling as tears spill from his eyes. Nearby, Miss Cha catches sight of Jinwoo. As their eyes meet, a sudden blush spreads across her cheeks, and she quickly averts her gaze. Jinwoo, perplexed by her reaction, glances at her before shifting his attention back to the memorial. A total of 4,801 hunters participated in the 5th Jeju Island raid, accompanied by 727 awakened civilians called to arms. The battle claimed the lives of 64 awakened individuals and 32 civilians. Although the death toll remained grim, this final assault resulted in significantly fewer casualties than any of the previous attempts. Later, Jinwoo sits at a table with Gun-hee, who inquires whether he truly intends to establish his own guild. He reveals that certified S-rank hunters are exempt from acquiring a guildmaster's license. All Jinwoo needs to do is make a simple phone call to the association, and they will handle the rest. Jinwoo acknowledges this and silently resolves to investigate what benefits he can leverage as an S-rank hunter. Gun-hee then questions whether Jinwoo had cast some kind of barrier over Jeju Island. Jinwoo, taken aback, expresses his confusion. Gun-hee elaborates that hunters and soldiers had been dispatched to clear the island and collect essence stones, but inexplicably, all of them lost consciousness. Even the A-rank and B-rank hunters, along with members of the esteemed Night Guild, were rendered unconscious. He wonders if Jinwoo had unknowingly set up a barrier. Jinwoo, still puzzled, denies any involvement but understands the implications. Curious, he asks what the affected hunters and soldiers reported. Gun-hee informs him that they recall nothing from the moments leading up to their collapse, leaving them uncertain as to whether they were subjected to a magic spell or some unknown force. Jinwoo considers whether this phenomenon might have been a trap left behind by the ants. Just then, one of Gun-hee's guards approaches and quietly delivers a message. Gun-hee rises from his seat, explaining that his guest has arrived earlier than expected. He expresses his gratitude for Jinwoo's time before taking his leave. Jinwoo dismisses the thanks and contemplates returning home as well. As he heads toward his vehicle, a stranger suddenly steps forward, stopping him in his tracks. The person looks directly at him and asks if he is Jinwoo. The man responds that it is a pleasure to meet him and introduces himself as Adam White, a senior official from the Federal Hunters Bureau. Jinwoo, still perplexed, listens as Adam tells him he may call him simply Adam. Apologizing for the sudden appearance, Adam explains that Jinwoo is a difficult man to track down, so much so that he even visited his office in search of him. Jinwoo, momentarily stunned, wonders if this is the person Jinho had mentioned. Without hesitation, he asks what business Adam has with him. Adam replies that he wishes to share some valuable information, leaving Jinwoo even more confused. Adam elaborates, stating that no country or institution in the world can provide the information he is about to disclose. Skeptical, Jinwoo questions why Adam would choose to share such information with him. Adam reveals that his organization benefits from sharing knowledge with individuals like Jinwoo, He further explains that while he had originally intended to be the only one meeting with Jinwoo today, the Jeju Island raid left such a profound impression on his deputy director that he insisted on meeting Jinwoo in person. He emphasizes that such a request is unprecedented and assures Jinwoo that the deputy director will explain everything in detail. The anime may be ending, but the journey isn't over. I'll continue uploading arcs of solo leveling per week, so make sure to subscribe and be the first to watch. With that, Adam gestures toward a nearby vehicle and asks if Jinwoo would be willing to meet with him. Jinwoo considers the proposal for a moment before casually opening the door to his own car. He does not believe the information will be reliable and tells Adam that he will think it over and contact him later. However, Adam, unfazed, remarks that it would be foolish to keep it a secret any longer. He then utters the term upgrader. Jinwoo freezes, stunned. Adam continues, explaining that an upgrader is an awakened being capable of enhancing the abilities of another awakened individual. He then asks Jinwoo if he has ever heard of such a thing before. Jinwoo remains silent, his expression one of shock. The scene shifts, and the car finally comes to a stop in front of a large building. Adam informs Jinwoo that they have arrived. A man steps forward and introduces himself as Connor, the deputy director of the Federal Hunters Bureau. Adam adds that he will be serving as Jinwoo's translator for the conversation. Without hesitation, Connor gets straight to the point, handing Jinwoo a set of immigration documents. He explains that under normal circumstances, these documents would take 1 to 2 years to be processed. But for Jinwoo, an exception has been made. All it takes is a single second. Jinwoo merely needs to say the word, and he will become an American citizen instantly. However, Jinwoo's expression turns cold. He sharply reminds them that he agreed to come here because Adam claimed Connor had information to share with him. His mind lingers on the concept of the upgrader, questioning whether it is truly possible for a hunter's abilities to be enhanced. Connor, unfazed, replies that someone with such powers is actually present with them at this very moment. Without delay, he instructs an assistant to summon Ms. Sellner. A woman steps into the room. Jinwoo's eyes widen in shock. Mr. Connor introduces Jinwoo to Norma Shellner, telling him that she is the only person in the world who can enhance the abilities of awakened beings. As Jinwoo looks at her, he thinks she seems like a completely different kind of awakened person. Michael then speaks up, asking Miss Shellner to explain her powers to Jinwoo. She starts by saying that he might not believe what she is about to say, just like everyone else when they first heard it. However, she assures him that once he experiences her power, he will want more. As she steps closer, Mr. Connor calls out to her. Miss Shellner then explains that Jinwoo may already know that every awakened person has a limit to their strength, and no one can go beyond it unless they have a second awakening. This is common knowledge among hunters. Jinwoo then asks if she can change that, and Miss Shellner confirms that she can. She reveals that her power allows awakened beings to break through their limits. Through 3 stages, she can remove these limits. She adds that she doesn't even have a name for this ability, but she can perform a force reawakening, meaning she can bring out a person's full potential. Mr. Connor agrees and confirms that she is telling the truth. However, he explains that Miss Shellner needs a long time to rest after using her power, so she can only help 3 or 4 people per year. Jinwoo thinks to himself that if what she says is true, then her ability is incredible and he will be one of the few people she helps. He then asks how effective the process is. Miss Shellner explains that results vary for each person, but after completing all 3 stages, their strength will increase by 20 to 30%. Jinwoo is shocked. A 20 to 30% increase is unbelievable. He now understands why Hwang Dong-soo went to America despite facing heavy criticism. He realizes that no hunter would refuse such an opportunity. He then asks what would happen if others found out about her power. Mr. Connor explains that this is why they keep her under their protection, ensuring her safety while paying her a suitable salary. In return, Miss Shellner enhances the abilities of selected hunters. Mr. Connor then formally introduces Miss Shellner again and tells Jinwoo that they are offering her power to him as a gift. Still unsure, Jinwoo asks if this is really an offer. Mr. Connor clarifies that once he joins the Federal Bureau as a hunter, he will get top priority and special benefits. They will also arrange meetings with the guild of his choice and help him get the best contract. Miss Shellner then slides a plate across the table and tells Jinwoo that he doesn't need to decide right away. They are just introducing the idea to him. Jinwoo looks confused, so Miss Shellner repeats that this is a gift. After that, Mr. Connor asks for permission to lift Jinwoo's limits. Jinwoo hasn't asked for anything in return, but Mr. Connor tells him to think of it as a complimentary service. Jinwoo remembered Miss Shellner's words, that once he experienced her power he would beg for more. He realized she was confident in her ability. She then asked Jinwoo to hold out his hand and look into her eyes, saying this was the first step. Michael watched closely, thinking Jinwoo had taken the bait and was doing well at staying calm. However, he believed that once the first stage was complete, Jinwoo would either try to contact them again, or if he was impatient, sign the papers immediately. As Miss Shellner held Jinwoo's hand, it began to glow. Mr. Connor thought about Jinwoo's past achievements, especially how he had led the Jeju Island raid with powers never seen before, and wondered what more he could do. As a green aura surrounded Jinwoo, the light in his eyes grew stronger. Miss Shellner's eyes also began to glow as she was surrounded by a powerful energy. Suddenly, she found herself in a place filled with darkness. A shadowy figure appeared behind her, moving closer and closer until it stood right in front of her, staring at her with terrifying, glowing eyes. Miss Shellner screamed, and the process stopped immediately, shocking everyone in the room. Some agents quickly pulled out their guns and pointed them at Jinwoo, demanding to know what he had done to her. Furious, Mr. Connor shouted at them, calling them morons, and asking if they even realized who Jinwoo was. He told them to check on Miss Shellner instead of overreacting. Then he turned to Jinwoo, bowed his head, and apologized, saying the agents had crossed the line. Jinwoo, still surprised, assured him it was fine. Angrily, Mr. Connor approached one of the agents and said that if they had done something like this to Thomas Andre or Liu Jigang, they would all be dead by now. He then asked if the agent understood, and the terrified agent quickly agreed. Turning to Miss Shellner, Mr. Connor asked what had happened. He noticed she was trembling and sweating, so he asked if she was feeling sick. Then he turned to Jinwoo and explained that Miss Shellner wasn't feeling well, asking if they could reschedule the procedure. Jinwoo agreed. Mr. Connor then instructed Adam to escort Jinwoo out of the room. Once Jinwoo was gone, Mr. Connor turned back to Miss Shellner and asked again what had happened. Still shaking, her face filled with fear, she stuttered that Jinwoo was a king, a powerful one. Mr. Connor, shocked, asked if she meant he was as strong as a national-level hunter. Miss Shellner shook her head and said she had never felt anything like this before. She repeated that he was a king, but not an ordinary one. She explained that while she was looking into him, he had also been looking back at her, and within him, she saw an endless darkness. Then she revealed that Jinwoo had no limit to his power. At the Hunter Association office, Chairman Go sat in despair, covering his face with his hands. He still couldn't believe they had lost a hunter like Byung-gyu. However, he reminded himself that Byung-gyu had already retired, so he wasn't technically an active hunter anymore. It was heartbreaking that people were calling his death a noble sacrifice. Chairman Go also knew that even bigger challenges lay ahead, and they might face even more death and destruction. Just then, his phone rang, and he was informed that a B-rank gate had appeared in the middle of the highway. He immediately thought that a regular strike squad wouldn't be strong enough to handle it, so he considered calling the major guilds for help. However, he paused, remembering that Jinwoo had recently opened an office nearby. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was on his way home in his car after meeting with the upgrader Norma Shellner. He was sure she had noticed something unusual about him, but couldn't tell exactly what. Jinwoo wondered if she had somehow seen a glimpse of the system, which made him nervous. He recalled the terror in her eyes and doubted she would ever want to meet him again. As he sat in traffic, he thought about how much he preferred taking the subway to avoid situations like this. Just then, his phone rang. It was Chairman Go, who told him about a gate appearing in the middle of the road, surprising Jinwoo. He quickly realized that this was likely the reason for the traffic jam. Chairman Go then asked if he could take care of it. Jinwoo asked if it was okay for him to enter without an entry permit, to which Chairman Go laughed and jokingly reminded him that the Hunter Association was the one in charge of entry permits. Jinwoo responded that it was the Hunter Association, and Chairman Go further emphasized that he was speaking to the chairman of the Hunter Association. Jinwoo smiled, acknowledging the point, and Chairman Go reassured him that there was nothing to worry about. Jinwoo responded that he would gladly take the free experience points and thanked him. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the gate in the middle of the highway, where a large crowd had gathered, including reporters. Based on the reports, the gate had appeared on an expressway. Some of the onlookers were urging people to follow their directions. One female Hunter Association member tried to stop a man from entering the restricted area, stating that it was off-limits. When she noticed the man, she was taken aback and recognized him as the S-rank hunter Jinwoo. People in the vehicles nearby also recognized Jinwoo and remarked that it looked like he was going to take matters into his own hands. The woman, although stammering, questioned Jinwoo about why he was there and reminded him that even though he was an S-rank hunter, it didn't mean he could ignore the protocol. She then asked if he had an entry permit for the gate. When Jinwoo didn't respond immediately, she insisted that even if he had a permit, he couldn't enter unless the required number of hunters were present. In Jinwoo's mind, he was simply following Chairman Go's instructions. He took out his phone and called Chairman Go, informing him that he was at the gate, but there was a bit of a problem. He then handed the phone to the woman and told her to take the call. The woman was surprised and asked who was on the other end of the line. Jinwoo casually replied that it was someone she wouldn't be able to argue with. On the other end, Chairman Go introduced himself as Go Gun-hee. The woman, now trembling, immediately agreed to follow his instructions. Jinwoo then told her he was going in and began stepping into the gate. In the woman's mind, she secretly hoped that Jinwoo might trip and twist his ankle. Once Jinwoo entered, the other Hunter Association members were shocked as they noticed that the gate was changing color. The woman then shouted in alarm that it was a red gate and wondered if this had happened because she had wished harm on Jinwoo. Meanwhile, Jinwoo, having entered the gate, muttered to himself that it felt like he had entered a red gate. He found himself in a rainy forest. Standing still and observing his surroundings, Jinwoo noticed that the entrance had closed, meaning he would need to push forward. He then thought of his mother, who had once told him that she just wanted him to do whatever made him happy. After his awakening, his mother had assured him that there was no reason to stop him. Besides, as an S-rank hunter, it was his duty to save as many people as possible, just like his father had done. His mother had also told him that his father had been a firefighter before becoming a hunter. She had fallen in love with him after seeing him rescue people from a fire, and they eventually got married. She reminded Jinwoo that his father's blood flowed in his veins, and there was nothing she could do about that. Her final advice had been to not push himself too hard. Jinwoo smiled, feeling relieved that his mother wasn't against him working as a hunter. The anime may be ending, but the journey isn't over. I'll continue uploading arcs of solo leveling per week, so make sure to subscribe and be the first to watch. He then assessed the situation and determined that this dungeon didn't seem too much of a challenge. Inside the Red Gate, the beasts faced off against Jinwoo's shadow army. His mages cast fire magic that incinerated the beasts, and his generals joined the battle. It appears that hunters are born to hunt, and magic beasts aren't the only enemies they must fight. Hunters must be careful not to fall prey to others. The tides can change at any given moment, so first-rate hunters never let their guard down. Even though there are tens of thousands of beasts to hunt, hunters will never stop hunting. Not a single hunter has the intention to stop, and the hunt moves on to the next target. A man is uncontrollably panicking as a dark humanoid figure stands in front of him. The man demands to know the creature's identity, and the figure responds that he is not the one either, remarking that the brilliant fragments of light are hiding cleverly. Meanwhile, Silad, the king of snowfolk and the monarch of frost, notices something behind him and turns to see another humanoid demon, Yogumunt, the king of demonic specters and the monarch of transfiguration. Yogumunt then informs Silad about the East Island. Silad confirms that he is referring to the small island, stating that it is the place of the Shadow Monarch, and asks if he has decided to take care of that place. Yogumunt explains that the rulers have decided to release their legions south of that place, and that he will take it. Silad asks how he plans to deal with the Shadow Monarch, who is also there. Yogumunt assures him that it will be fine if the planner fulfills the contract. Smirking, he adds that the greatest fragment of brilliant light has been confirmed in that place as well. Hearing this, Silad becomes excited and acknowledges that Yogumunt intentionally came to tell him that. Yogumunt asks what he intends to do with this information, and Silad replies that if Yogumunt is willing to follow him, then why not? Silad then notices something and remarks on the presence of the mantra of light, wondering why a trace of its power is there, and concluding that someone plans to get in their way. With rage in his eyes, a man demands to know if they are referring to the small island to the east, Korea. Silad taunts him, questioning what he will do about it. The man attacks with the light, but Silad effortlessly blocks it with his ice shield and with a grin prepares to counterattack. As he unleashes his power, a massive explosion engulfs the area. The scene then shifts back to the Red Gate, where Jinwoo is fighting the dungeon boss to clear the dungeon and escape. He finally finds the boss, who accuses Jinwoo of killing his people and, impressed that he made it this far despite his small body, declares that this is where it all ends. The boss orders his minions to attack from their hidden positions, but nothing happens. Confused, the creature wonders why they are not responding to the signal. Jinwoo stands there and mocks the creature for calling him small, finding it amusing. He gives his own signal, and the area fills with shadow soldiers emerging from the forest, carrying the severed heads of the defeated minions. Jinwoo taunts the creature, pointing out that it seems like no one is left. The creature, bewildered, is suddenly struck in the face by another dead minion. Looking toward Jinwoo, who stands alongside his army, the creature begins to panic and frantically orders its henchmen to destroy them. Jinwoo commands his soldiers to eliminate all enemies, and both sides charge at each other as the battle begins. The shadow soldiers, vastly superior, tear through the enemy forces with ease. Meanwhile, Jinwoo moves toward the boss as his tank clears a path for him. Furious, the boss charges at Jinwoo, but before he can act, Baru and Igris attack. Baru severs one of its arms, while Igris slices off a leg, causing the creature to collapse. As it looks up, it sees Tusk towering over it, using his ability, reverse gravity, to pin the beast to the ground. With the boss immobilized, Jinwoo slowly approaches and tells it that answering his questions will make things less painful. After interrogating the beast, he stands before its lifeless body, suspecting that the system is interfering again, as he was unable to obtain any crucial information. Opening his inventory, he reassures himself that he will find out sooner or later anyway. He retrieves a key from his inventory that he obtained from the cursed random box, recalling that he reached level 100 during the Jeju Island raid and met the minimum requirements to unlock the dungeon. Examining the key, he reads its description and learns that it is the key to the Kartanon Temple, which has a timer indicating how much time remains before the dungeon becomes accessible. If the time runs out, the key will expire. As he reads, memories of the dungeon from his last visit resurface, and he realizes that the system is calling him back to where it all began. However, this time he has grown much stronger than before. He wonders if everything was planned from the beginning, and if something is waiting for his return. Determined, he resolves to go back. Inside the dungeon, an entity smirks as it hears Jinwoo declare that he will be coming soon. The anime may be ending, but the journey isn't over. I'll continue uploading arcs of solo leveling per week, so make sure to subscribe and be the first to watch.